Small, Fragile, and Destined to Die by InBabylonTheyWept. Aaron could feel the lich standing over him. He was bleeding out, face down in the mud, too weak to roll over, too weak to even spit. But no cage of dying flesh could contain the hate he felt for the creature looming above him. He felt a clawed hand on his back, surprisingly gentle as it flipped him over. He almost wished it hadn't. Seeing the light of his final sunset was glorious. But there was a moment where he'd seen under the creature's hood, seen the void that cast a shadow on darkness itself. He'd always heard it was a skeleton under those rags. The truth was so much worse. That same hand, still soaked in his blood, reached for him again, and he tensed, bloody froth forced from his lips by the effort. It was just as gentle as the first time, however, cradling his head so that he could watch the sunset without having to strain his eyes. It was disconcerting. He wanted to ask why he was doing this, but he couldn't manage the effort. The creature seemed to sense his concerns, and he felt a tendril of its inhuman consciousness brush against his own. I don't hate you. He reeled. Even at its most gentle, the mind of the horror holding him could crush him by accident. He felt like a field snake next to a leviathan, a stone next to a mountain. He tried to shield his mind from the presence, but its words hammered down implacably. I pity you, small, fragile, destined to die. If you were lucky, it would have been in your bed. Instead, it's here, on behalf of a king that will never bother to learn your name. The most you had to look forward to was a life of toil in the fields. You didn't even get a quick end at the hands of my servants. Bleeding out, face down in the mud, was your lot in life. There was a pause before the creature continued. Its inner voice changed from sympathetic to cold. You were a man sent to stand before an army of monsters. How could I not pity you? Misery ripped through him. He held it in his whole life, bracing himself for the lich's inevitable return. But those final words tore his walls down. He felt like he was drowning in helplessness, choking on his own despair. Then, the despair ignited. He spat on the lich's face. The effort of it almost killed him, his vision blackening in the corners, his muscles burning like he'd been set on fire. The lich recoiled, and he could feel the defenses of its ancient consciousness waver. It was the only chance he would ever have, and he took it, ramming his mind into the psychic wall of the lich with all the force of his soul. He couldn't tell who was more surprised to feel the wall give in, him or the lich. There has never been a time I didn't fear you, monster. Stories have been passed down through the generations about how unstoppable you are, how no grave can hold you, how every time you are defeated, you simply rise again. But I never realized what they truly revealed. How many times you have been stopped. I am a mere man, sent to battle an army of monsters. I am small and fragile, destined to die. But it is men like me, small and fragile men, that have killed you throughout the ages. You will meet your end at a plowman's spear, a fisherman's trident, a harvestman's scythe, again and again, as many times as it takes for your immortal soul to surrender to the void. And when the stars burn to ash, and this world is nothing but ice and ruin, you will find no refuge in heaven or hell, because both will be full of men like me that you sent there, men that you trained to hold the line. You will learn to hate me, creature. I swear it. The lich sat in stunned silence at the end of Aaron's rebuke. Fury dripped from it like snowmelt from a glacier, colder than freezing, colder than death. Its pinprick points of light met with Aaron's brown eyes, but he still refused to look away. He was closer to death than life, but he still blazed with defiance. The hand that had been gently cradling his head clenched into a fist, crushing Aaron's skull like a rotten tomato. With nothing else to do, the lich stood up, taking a moment to wipe the spit off its face before shaking its hands free of the blood and bone that had once been a human head. Then it stalked back to its war camp. It had planning to do, and for the first time in centuries, it felt strangely unsure.